Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another historical humans heritage. And this time we are going to the coast of France and we are looking at Mont Saint-Michel and its bay, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We didn't
Yep.
venture away from UNESCO for too long, don't you
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah. Mont Saint-Michel and its surrounding bay have been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1979.
Whoa.
It is a abbey and fortified town located at the on an island between the provinces of Normandy and Brittany. And it is one of the most important sites in all of medieval Christianity. This wonderful little island architecture here up here.
Which, if you look at the
Pretty.
image here, you notice that right now there's a lot of water and it looks like an island. However, the thing that's really interesting is at low tide, there's actually a causeway that goes all the way out to the island that allows you to traverse
Yes, God parts the channel and allows people to cross.
it.
That's at least the interpretation of the Benedictine monks who uh, the who were actually there before the Mont Saint Michel was built. For Mont Saint Michel was built between the 11th and 16th century. However, it was built on top of a Benedictine abbey that was founded in 966, which was itself built on top of a sanctuary to the Archangel Michael that dates back to the year 708.
Oh, jeez.
So the the what we're looking at today itself dates back about 1,000 to 500 years ago, and the actual site goes all the way back 1,300 years.
Wow.
Um, yes, and the building itself is incredibly unique because, well, the island has a lot of unique issues with building on it that have resulted in some very adaptive architecture going into the abbey in order to make it both sort of beautiful and actually functional and not about to fall into the ocean. Uh, this is not an easy or even a very sensible place to build things, but here we are.
Well, and like any good religious structure, it was eventually abandoned by the religious order and turned into a prison for about a century.
Well, this is France. Of course, it was turned into a prison.
Which, I mean, you
This
see
is
the
this
image.
is.
It's a pretty.
I mean, let's be honest. I think the Bastille was a military fort turned prison, and that got stormed. So, you know, there's something of an excess of prisoners in France for a good chunk of the history. But one of the wonderful things about Mont Saint Michel is it is on the World Heritage list for fulfilling out a total of three criterion, which is fairly impressive. Most things get on this list filling out one or two, but getting a trifecta basically guarantees your slot forever.
Which the
Um,
first criterion that it matches is the unique combination of natural site and the architecture. Mont Saint Michel constitutes a unique aesthetic success.
yeah, that's criterion one of UNESCO. The second criteria it meets is criterion three,
Yes.
uh, which is it is an unequaled ensemble. The coexistence of the abbey and the fortified village within its small limits of the island, and has resulted in some very original placement of buildings and has given the structure a unique silhouette. You don't find any other structure that looks like this anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
pretty unique.
Despite it being, supposedly the penultimate Catholic church. I mean, you see some elements similar with basilicas and Notre Dame and other major churches, but none have had to have their structure amended to such a degree as this one. So it's atypical. The Finally, the third criterion is criterion six, which is simply an acknowledgement that Mont Saint-Michel was one of the most important medieval Christian holy sites. So during its time period of the 11th to 16th centuries, it it was the defining foundation for Christianity in northern France. It was beyond important. Um,
Which
yeah,
also coincides with some of its greatest architectural successes. I mean, the um, the covered valley of monks, which the vault constructed after 1103, would be one of the earliest examples of ribbed vaulting, which is pretty good.
uh,
But then they also mastered, they had a bunch of masters of the Gothic period who benefited as much as they could from the restricted area, invented the
yeah,
high walls, soaring masses, the open volumes, and the airy pinnacles and sharp silhouette of the rock.
yeah. Basically, we have to innovate here, so anything goes, and that really leans into Gothic architecture, which likes vaulted ceilings and spires, and a lot of and again the ribbed ceilings. It's like we have to find a way to make it stand.
Not to mention the
So
fun
there's a lot of
mattresses
beautiful
involved.
innovation that goes into this building.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean the architecture of it is just honestly
mm,
stunning more than anything.
yeah, yes, and this is a site under constant management as the property has a number of French national laws protecting it, in addition to the mandates of UNESCO. These would be the Heritage Code and the Environment Code, um, as well as has in fact been protected by France since 1862, as has been listed as a historic monument by France since that time.
Yeah.
And since it is a shoreline property, it is protected by what is known as uh, a coastal law, and the entire bay has been granted protections under the Ramsar Convention of '94. So basically, France is just layering every single possible way you could defend this place on top of each other, from ecological to environmental to straight up historic.
Well, and then you talk about the management of the Abbey, which falls under the National Monument Center, a body directly under the authority of the Ministry of Culture. So the Abbey benefits from important and regular restoration work, so it's kept top notch. And then also, they work on consolidating a lot of the rocks, so making
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
that it's not crumbling or falling apart. So this site is both protected historically, protected environmentally, has the governmental ties for the Ministry of
yeah.
Culture, but even further. But wait, there's more. In 2018, a buffer zone was proposed that includes almost 130 communes. Its boundary was defined based on a landscape study where Mont Saint-Michel, the principal panoramas, and the Montjoies are all visible.
Yes,
Furthermore,
and
uh-huh.
yeah, and I do believe the 2018 boundary modification has been approved as UNESCO does list it as inscribed, um, which I do believe means that it has been that proposal has been amended onto the boundaries for the site.
Oh yeah, minor boundary modifications inscribed
Yeah.
2018. Yep.
So yeah, even though I think the main body of text that UNESCO provides is a little bit behind on clarifying that statement, but yeah, it actually did the 2018 expanded boundaries were approved, which means there's now even more territory protected
Which is to
by it.
protect this panorama that you see present.
Yes, there was one modification to the panorama and to the site itself that is mostly a necessity for the site in the modern times. Instead of relying on an intermittent flooding causeway for access, uh, there has been a footbridge and shuttle service from the place called La Caserne to Mont Saint Michel, sort of to facilitate access both for tourism, restoration, and just generally allowing the 21st century to be a part of Mont Saint Michel.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect point to wrap up. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe. And please check out our latest project, the Humanitarian Collection.
Yeah, the Humanitarian Collection is a wonderful little web store where we sell various art, clothing, and products in conjunction with a charity. And our current charity is the Trevor Project, an organization dedicated to suicide prevention among LGBTQ youth. LGBTQ youth are 4 times as likely to need access to mental health service than uh, people who are not members of the community. And the Trevor Project does a lot of important work. And anything that you purchase from Humanitarian Collection will see donations going to the Trevor Project. So if you want to support a wonderful cause and get something nice for yourself along the way, well, there's the Humanitarian Collection.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.